Hey everyone, today's video is about how to dress affordably for riding your bike in winter. Also, a lot of you guys have sent me some really cool hacks about how you stay warm in winter, and I'll talk those through as well. So let's get this started. Okay, so yes, I get it. Rapha and Asus is expensive. And I can 100% confirm that those brands do the trick. They will keep you warm for sure. When I first got into cycling, I was beyond poor. I had a beginner job right out of college. I had no clue what I was doing, and I literally just wore everything I owned. So I know what it's like to really have to piece together affordable winter kit. However, I do want to say, if you do have the budget to spend on some nice kit, do it. It's a great investment. It's something that I think is well worth it. You can ride it for many winters, especially if you take care of that clothing. So just to start this off and talk about the elephant in the room, this is what I wear for winter, and it works foolproof. I rode 2 days ago in -degree temperatures and was completely warm. And that's really straightforward. It's a deep winter Rapha base layer, a Rapha winter jersey, a Rapha merino head cap, a Rapha winter collar, Rapha Pro Team winter bibs, Rapha deep winter socks, Rapha deep winter gloves, a Rapha race cape, and Mavic winter shoes. However, I know all this kit will run you around 1,100 euros at least, not even counting the shoes yet. So I get it, that's expensive, but I guarantee you that stuff works. 100% works, and is really great quality and will last you many seasons. However, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how you can actually kit up affordably and some hacks about how you can stay warm. So let's get this started. So I asked on my Instagram account for some tips or pieces of kit that people think is affordable and will help keep you warm during winter, and I got endless responses. So thank you to everyone who sent in those responses. They really helped making this video happen. So really, I appreciate it. So first, it's really important to have a few key principles about staying warm in winter. And you should always keep these top of mind when you're buying kit for winter or you're dressing for winter. Because with these simple things applied across your entire kit, you can make sure that you will stay warm during winter. So let's get started with these principles of winter riding. So point one, and you'll hear everyone say this, and that is layer up. Use layers to your advantage, and it's important for a few reasons. First of all, you can buy 1 or 2 or 3 inexpensive layers that will help you get by, as opposed to buying one really expensive layer that will also help you, but maybe not be as beneficial as the 1 to 3 layers you may get affordably. So it's just more affordable to layer up. Next, you can use these layers throughout different seasons. So maybe you can use some of your fall kit layered up, or you can use some of your spring kit layered up. Next, and also really important, is that by layering up, if you live somewhere where there's a lot of hills or you may be doing sprints, layering up allows you to take layers off so you won't be super sweaty when you get at the end of your effort or at the top of a hill. Because there's nothing worse in winter than being hot and sweaty at the top of a descent or far from home and having to make it all the way back wet. That is an absolute recipe for disaster in winter, and you should avoid that at all possibilities. Point 2, and this is one I stand by, and not until I learned this did I really start to appreciate and understand dressing for winter and cycling. And that is to keep your body warm, keep your core warm. If you're able to keep your core warm, it'll allow the blood to leave your organs and go to your extremities to keep them warm as well. So any way you can keep your core warm by having solid base layers or layering up or making sure that you have wind protection on your chest is really integral to keeping the rest of your body warm. Point 3 is a really good one because it is the icing on the cake of staying warm, and that is protect yourself from wind. Often it's the wind that's extra cold. You've always hear on the news the meteorologists talk about wind chill effect. It's the same on the bike. Any way you're able to stop wind coming into you, the warmer you'll be. And that's why it's really important to have an outer layer on both bottom and top that keeps you protected from the wind. And fourth, and the final principle, is to keep your extremities, your hands and your feet, warm at all costs. The second these things start to become cold, you can't reverse that. So you need to prevent it at any possibility you have. And that means you have to get weird and get resourceful in how to do this. So those are the 4 key principles we need to keep in mind this entire video as we talk about winter kit and making it affordable. So on to brands. A lot of people have messaged me and told me specific brands were very affordable for dressing in winter. And I have some experience with some brands as well that work really well and were affordable for me back when I was first getting started. So the top brand people were saying to me was DHB, which is a house brand, I believe, of Chain Reaction and Wiggle Cycling in the UK. I don't know the details on this brand, so I may be incorrect here, but I get a lot of messages, and just looking high level at DHB, there seemed to be a lot of good product there that was affordable. Next, a brand that I always found very affordable for me was Gore. Gore made really great equipment at really good prices, and they have a long pedigree in making really good winter clothing for all sports. So Gore is really a great brand to look at as well. Next is Craft and Endora. I see them both offering really great products at really good prices. So these are 4 brands, if you're willing to invest some money in, that you know will have some quality and affordability to them. So make sure you look at them. And one little tip that a lot of you guys told me is that there's many other type of sports clothing that work for cycling that are much cheaper. So skiing, for example, is a great example of clothing that you can use for cycling that is simply cheaper than cycling clothing. And we all know there's a bubble in cycling. Cycling clothes are expensive. They're more expensive than the same product in many other sports because of the demand in cycling. And you guys keep buying the stuff for expensive prices. So therefore, often you can look at other sports to find affordable clothing. And skiing is a great example of that, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So one tip that used to really work for me, it also helps some of your local bike shops, is go visit them. Go see what they have on sale, see what they're able to give you a deal on, see what type of combinations they're able to build up for you. Because many local bike shops at the end of seasons need to get rid of stock, and they'll sell it at a decent price. So now I want to talk about each piece of the body, the heads, the body, the legs, the extremities, and talk about explicit pieces of kit and hacks for each of them that will help you dress affordably for winter cycling. So let's get this started and get into details. Let's start with the head. And keep in mind, by keeping your head warm, it'll keep a lot of your face and the rest of your body from letting heat out from the top of your head. So let's start with the basics. You really want something that holds the heat in your head and is really comfortable to wear with a helmet on. And my recommendation here is to just use any wool cap you might already have, a beanie or whatever you call it where you come from, those simple hats. Just buy one of those. I rode one of them for many years, and I still have a gray one that I still wear all the time, that I bought for 20 euros back in the US, or 20 bucks back when I lived in the US, and it completely worked for many years. So here's a great one on Amazon. I know some of you guys don't like to buy on Amazon. I'll just use them as an example for this video. Here's a great one. It's super affordable, and it's exactly what you're looking for. And you may already have this lying around. So this could actually be a complete zero cost to you, since you probably already have some. It's also important to think about connecting your head to your body, because often a lot of air will sneak in from your neck. And one of the best ways to do this is with some sort of collar. And I know there's really affordable ones out there. They're everywhere. You can use a scarf if you want, so something you already have. But I know a brand a lot of people like, and it's quite affordable, is this Buff brand. Here's a great example of one from Chain Reaction Cycles. It's very affordable. I highly recommend something like this because it will really seal off that layer and that connection area. And that's it for heads. So we're gonna now move on to an important one, which is the body. Okay, time for the body. And as we discussed in the principal part, we know that layering is really important, and keeping wind from coming in is important. So let's start at closest to the body. And keep in mind, it's best to have cycling clothing as tight and as close to your body as possible. The second you get any wind or any separation between your clothing and your body, you start to get air in there, and you'll start to feel it get cold, and then you'll start to get cold. So any way you can keep the seal of protection between your body and your layers as tight as possible, the better. So let's start with what should be your tightest layer, is your base layer. And one really affordable way of doing this is looking at ski or thermal underwear. It's quite affordable, it's really easy to get. Here's just a simple ski set that I found on Amazon for 20 euros, and this is pants and top. So you can even combine the two depending on what bibs you have. So double protection, double the savings, right? This is totally fine. I used to wear like an Under Armour base layer for many years, long sleeve in the winter. So whatever you get here, just think about it being thick and comfortable and tight. Also added plus if you can find merino wool. I know that's more expensive, but if you're willing to invest a little bit more, find anything with merino wool and it will help wicker the sweat away while still keeping you warm. So also a good option. Next up is an in-between piece. So between your base layer and your jacket. and that is a nice, simple, long sleeve jersey. And it really depends on the weather. Some days I don't wear a long sleeve jersey, I just go base layer with a really nice jacket. But sometimes it's nice to have this extra layer. And good news is you probably already have one lying around. There's probably one sitting in your cycling collection that you use in fall or spring. So when we talked about using layers earlier, this is what we mean. So it really depends on the day, but often a good, nice, simple long sleeve jersey between the base layer and the jacket really helps out. And here's a really good example I found on Chain Reaction. I just looked for 1 minute and saw Primal has some really affordable long sleeve jerseys that look not the best, most fashionable, but you're trying to stay warm, and sometimes you have to sacrifice fashion for function in winter cycling. And this is quite affordable. You can get it and use it as a really good middle jersey. It looks quite simple and serves the point as really putting another layer between you and the wind. Next up is something that I think is often worth splurging a little extra money on, and that's a proper winter jacket. And I really recommend the Rapha Core Winter Jacket. It's very affordable and it's really decent quality. So in Europe, I think it's only 135 euros for this jacket. I know you're saying, oh, that's a lot of money, but it's a really good option and I really highly recommend it. A small hack here is sometimes just use a winter jacket you might already have. So ski jackets work really well. I know back when I first got into cycling in Austria, I would just use a simple ski jacket because it does the trick and it's quite affordable. So if you already have a ski jacket, think about applying it here. Finally, what's really important for the top half of your body in winter is to get something that protects you from the wind. And this is really, really affordable. You can see here, I found a nice version on Chain Reaction. I think this is 40 euros, so not a lot. You don't need to spend a lot on this. And the benefit of getting something smaller and more compact is you can fit it in your back pocket when you get too hot or when you're climbing. And for the descent, you can bust it out and put it on. On really cold days, I keep it on the whole time as it really keeps the wind from hitting me. If you really have nothing, you can put a trash bag over you. I mean, this is really just an option that you want to stop air from hitting you. So it's really not that complicated, this layer. Next up are hacks for the top of the body. I got some really great ones from you guys for this. The first one I think is classic. It's Roadie Pro Classic, and that is taking a newspaper and stuffing it in your jersey to protect your chest from the wind. Super easy, super cheap, really classic, really old school cool. Next up is something I do all the time. I always toss a gilet somewhere in that layer just to keep me a little snug and warm. Totally works great. You already own a gilet or a vest, so bring it along, fits in that back pocket. You can toss it on at any point in time to help warm yourself up. Finally, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but don't be afraid to wear any jacket you already have. Like I said, in winter, sometimes fashion goes out the window and you need to think about function. One time I rode with a guy in winter, it was a freezing day. He had no winter jacket, so he showed up with a leather jacket on, like a full leather jacket. And he was super warm the entire ride. He looked great and you got tons of jokes to make about it. So even you can be a bit of a wild card on your ride by showing up with something a bit different. Now we're on to the legs. And if I could say there's one place to splurge, it is really here. Because there's a lot of muscle and a lot of mass on your legs, and any way you can keep them warm will really help the rest of your body stay warm. Especially for your top, for your hats, for your gloves, for all these other things. You probably already have some stuff lying around the house that you can kind of use, but you most likely don't have a pair of tights or long bibs you have just sitting around the house that you can apply to use for winter. So it's really a good place to toss some extra money at. I really believe in the Rapha Pro Team Winter Tights. They have a great layer on the front of them that help protect you from any wind and water. I've ridden them for years and they are the warmest I have ever worn without a question. However, there are many other really good brands right now that are doing a pretty good job at this. Velocio is doing a great job at making a pair of bibs that is really comfortable and set for winter. And so is Isadora. So both of these brands have kind of hubs in places that get cold. I think that Velocio is from the northeast of the United States and Isadora is from Slovakia, so places that both get really cold. And they do a really great job and also make a good product. However, if you can't afford any of these and you're thinking of a much better option, then what you can do is buy a pair of chamois tights. And I did this for many years, so you probably already have a chamois, which is one of the most expensive things in a winter kit or in a bib altogether. You probably own many chamois in your summer bib tights. So if you buy a pair of winter tights that go over these summer tights, it makes it a much more affordable option. So look at options like this great pair of Gore Windstopper bibs. They're just over $100, right? So not that crazy. And I actually owned, I think, a previous version of this. So I can confirm that the Gore tights are actually really good quality and affordable. So by combining your summer bibs with a shame-less winter tight, it can really make it an affordable option. So some hacks for the bottom half. And first is embrocation. Remember, embrocation is not actually keeping you warm, it's making you feel like you're warm. So if there's any fear of frostbite or anything like that, don't think that embrocation is stopping that from happening. It's simply just making you feel warmer. However, it does a really great job at making you feel warmer. So really, embro it on. Next up is longer socks. Any way you can get some long ski socks or longer socks that you have from hiking or any wool socks that you have around, the better. And finally, a lot of people have issues with their lower back, their ass area, getting cold. I think your kidneys start to get cold and it goes back to kind of holding a lot of the blood in your organs. Any way you can keep your lower back warm. I know people who wrap scarves around them, or you can buy specific warmers that will keep your lower back warm. Also a great option if that's a problem for you. So let's talk about gloves. For many years, I wore just a simple pair of thick leather gloves that I received from a Christmas present from my aunt. So they were really simple and they worked really well, but my hands still got really cold. So another option I've seen a lot of people recommend is using skiing gloves, just gloves you can buy at any retailer or sports store for skiing. They tend to be a little more cheaper than cycling gloves and they seem to work really well. Someone else in my Instagram account recommended to me that H&M sells a pair of gloves by 3M called the Thinsulate gloves, and they cost $9 or $9 or 9 euros, and they work amazingly well for 9 euros. So there's a lot of cheap glove options. I do think that the Rafa deep winter gloves work really well, but they're always sold out on their website and they're quite hard to get. They are expensive, but they surely work. Another tip is if you're looking to spend some more money on a pair of gloves and you want a pair that surely work without a doubt, I had a friend who recently bought a pair of 45 North gloves that he swears by that they're absolutely perfect, and he's always had issues with his hands getting cold. So if you're willing to spend an extra $100 on a pair of gloves, then these could really be a good option. So let's talk about hacks for gloves. I got many hacks for gloves and I found some really cool ones and a few that I've actually used myself. So first, using a plastic glove underneath your thicker glove or between a thinner glove and your bigger glove, especially if it's raining or it's a wet cold. If you're out on your bike ride, you can even stop by a gas station and grab some of those simple plastic gloves. You may have to sneak up and grab them and not get caught by the attendant, but there's some of those simple gloves that they give you to use to pump your gas into your tank. Those also can work really well underneath your big gloves. Something that I do when it's really, really cold, and maybe it's not super environmentally friendly, so I only do it when it's really cold, is use those hand warmer, those chemical hand warmer packs that you can buy. I'll just crack open a pair and toss them into my gloves, and for most of the ride, I'll have 100% warm hands. So let's now move on to feet. First, I can't stress enough how important it is to invest in a nice pair of winter boots or winter shoes. I went many years without them and I've been using them for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's been a game changer for me. My feet never get cold, they never get wet, and they're really easy and quick to put on, unlike putting on shoe covers after every single ride and taking them off. This is just simple and it's guaranteed warm. I use the Mavic winter boots. They're awesome. I have the mountain bike version so I can walk on ice if I ever come across ice, and they're perfect. But if we want to talk about the basics of making sure your feet don't get cold, there are a few things. First of all, a good wool sock. We talked about it earlier, having a long one is great. You can simply go and get any military grade wool hiking sock or whatever you have in your area, ski socks, something thick that can really help block the wind and help insulate your feet. Next up, a lot of cycling shoes are designed for summer. They have holes in all areas of them to keep your feet nice and cool in the summer. They don't protect you from winter. So what you can do is a few modifications. So first, there's special insoles you can buy for your shoes. And these insoles are really thick and they help block wind coming up from the bottom, because go look at your shoes, your cycling shoes, look at the underside of them. I guarantee a majority of them have holes under them to allow air in to help ventilate your feet in summer. These are horrible for winter, disastrous. Next, on any areas around the shoe where there are all holes for ventilation, put some tape over them, just some simple electrical tape or solid tape that you use for packing or something. It will just work to help cover up those holes and stop the air from coming in. Next, find a nice pair of neoprene shoe covers. I'll be honest here, I destroy a pair a season when I wear them. I do never invest a lot of money in shoe covers because they always will get ruined. either your cleats digging into them, or you walk on them, or you wear mountain bike shoes with them, or the zipper gets covered in mud and doesn't work anymore. They always break. So find a really good pair. Don't spend too much money on these, just a nice pair of neoprene shoe covers. Now the hacks, and this is a fun one. So first of all, my wife swears by this, is she puts embercation on her feet. I can imagine it'd be really hot, but if you want to keep your feet feeling warm, then that's a great option for you. Next up is something that I can't recommend enough as a cheap way of making this happen, is take saran or plastic wrap and wrap it around your feet before you put them into your shoe. It's a thin layer, but it can help block some of the wind from hitting your feet and also hold some of the heat in your shoes. Next up, the same that there are those hand warming pads, you can also buy the same for your feet. And like I said, they're not super environmentally friendly, so just kind of use them on days where it's super cold and use them sparingly. But they also make versions of these for your feet as well. And finally, hacks for your feet is take aluminum foil and simply wrap it around your shoe before putting your overshoe on, especially the front area of your shoe. And that will also create another layer of wind blocking that will help keep your feet warm. And finally, one general tip, and I can't recommend this enough, it was a game changer for me, and that is buy fenders for your bikes. It's super, super nice. You stay dry, your bike stays cleaner. You only have to clean it every few rides, and keep in mind, the more you clean your bike in the winter, the more damage also that it brings on the bike. Doing a heavy winter wash is very, very impactful on your bike and your frame and your group set. So the less you have to do these really intense winter washes, which without fenders, you have to do it every single ride, the better. Second, it keeps you dry. Like, it keeps the water from coming up off the ground onto you. So it's a really great way to make sure you're staying dry and therefore warm. And finally, it helps the people you're riding with. There's nothing worse than water spraying up in people's faces and coming home with your chest and your ass and your legs all completely soaking wet and cold. So it also helps the people you ride with. So really, I can't recommend enough fenders, and there's many cheap versions. SKS sells some very affordable ones that you can mount through rubber kind of bands onto your frame. I've used these for years. It's super simple and it does the job. It's perfect. So those are all my tips for staying warm affordably on winter. Hopefully this makes a bit of sense. If you have any other additional tips, please put them in the comments below. I think this is an open conversation. This will probably evolve as the years go by and new technology comes around to keep us warm in winter. And just keep in mind, nothing should stop you from getting on your road on your bike, no matter the weather. It's really just a gear issue. And as long as you have the right things, you can go out and do it, right? So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'll make more videos like this. I'll probably do some tech videos coming up soon, tech for dummies, because I'm an idiot with tech stuff. But yeah, it's been great having you guys here. I hope this all made sense and I hope it's useful for you. Thanks guys, see you later.